What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Criterion Corner. This has been so much fun to do. I've done multiple episodes of this already, and I've had so much fun talking about these films in the collection and having conversations with people about movies in the collection that they love, and I look forward to keep doing this segment and giving you guys recommendations of films that I think are worth owning and worth talking about. And the film I want to talk about today is one of my favorites in the collection, and the reason being is, and I had a conversation with this a while back, I did a thing about films that you'd like to see in the Criterion collection, and I made a statement of this at the beginning. But one of my big qualms with Criterion, which I think they do a phenomenal job in what they do for films, and I think that they're a really great company, but I don't think they let enough horror in there, and I feel like that there's this hesitation to put too many horror films in there. They have some, but I feel like the selection is pretty limited compared to their other genres. So today, I'm going to talk about a horror comedy film that is one of my absolute favorite films in the entire collection, and that film is Hausu. Hausu is directed by Nobuhiko Obayashi. Hoping to find a sense of connection to her late mother, Gorgeous takes a trip to the country to visit her aunt at their ancestral house. She invites her 6 friends, Prof, Melody, Mac, Fantasy, Kung Fu, and Sweet, to join her. The girls soon discover that there is more to the old house than meets the eye. This film, the description actually sums it up pretty well as far as the plot is concerned, but I feel like the plot is less important to the film as the visuals are. Similar to what I've said previously about Dario Argento's Suspiria, where the film has a plot. There's a premise to the film of this girl going to a dance academy and figuring out something spooky's happening. But for Argento, what's more important is the visuals. The bright saturated colors, the violence conveyed on screen, and the mystery and the intrigue created by the score and the visuals. This movie is the same. There is this plot thread of this girl going to her aunt's house to go on this summer vacation away from school, brings all of her friends out there with her, and weird shit starts happening. And that's really, at its core, what the movie is as far as plot, but there's so much more as far as the visuals are concerned. And this movie is a visual treat. There is a person that is turned into a pile of bananas at one point during this movie. There's a piano that eats a person. There's floating heads. There's so much insane shit that happens in this film, and it is just beautiful. It is wonderful and hilarious. I think all the actresses in this movie are great. I think what's really funny is the director makes each one of the girls' names the overwhelming attribute to their personality, like Kung Fu, who's constantly the one standing up and fighting for them, or Gorgeous, who they're constantly commenting on her beauty, and there's Mac, who's really into eating food, which I thought was kind of funny. These overblown caricatures of these characters, and they go through this house and weird stuff starts happening, and it's funny how long it takes them to realize when this weird shit is occurring and that there's something off about the aunt. Like when she starts off, she's like in a wheelchair, and then at some point she just stands up and starts walking around, and she's like, yeah, I'm all better now. I'm fine, I can walk around. And there's this cat who's constantly moving through the house that's this looming presence throughout the film. And there's something supernatural at play, which is conveyed to you towards the third act of the film. But really, the best part of this movie is just the absolute batshit crazy visuals accompanied by a really incredible score that makes this movie work on so many levels. Some of my favorite films have come from Asia, and there are so many amazing movies from just, you look at China, Japan, Korea, put out amazing films. And this movie is just one of my favorite horror comedies. People that watch this channel know my love for Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2, and one of the things I love about that film is the true grounded horror mixed in with the over body comedy, and I feel like this movie does a good job of balancing it as well. I feel like it pushes definitely more in the comedic direction, but there are some genuinely horrifying moments in this movie that will scare the shit out of you, but there's also some moments that are meant to be scary that come off as hilarious. Like there's a scene where a disembodied head comes out of a well and starts chasing after a person, and it's really ridiculous. But what I love too about this movie is The set design is so incredible. This house is so old and decrepit and awful. Each room has its own personality almost. And when you go into these scenes and you watch certain elements play out, the house just has a life of its own. And that's another thing I love about this movie, is the intricate details about this house and the way that it looks and the way that our characters navigate themselves through this home. And it's so well shot and well directed, and I just absolutely love it. And this is one of these overblown comedy horror films that are like strike that delicate balance between comedy and horror. And what I think is so great about House, and what I love about these types of movies, is it takes such a unique vision to accomplish something like this. Like, I feel like if an American filmmaker now in 2022 was like, I want to make this movie, and the elements that play out in-house were introduced to like a production studio, I feel like unless you had like a heavy-hitting name in horror like James Wan or someone, they would turn you down immediately. Like, maybe A24 might give somebody a shot with it, but I just feel like you don't get a lot of films like this anymore that are just unique and interesting films shot through this vision of like, I'm gonna convey the wackiest and most absurd shit. And there's these like montage sequences that are shot throughout the movie that are just fantastic. They feel almost like a late 80s, early 90s sitcom with like the introduction of the characters like jumping in on screen. And oh my god, there's a scene really early on in the film where Gorgeous goes home and she's talking to her dad. Her dad's new wife comes home and they're like on this porch, and like the way it's lit and everything, it feels almost like a soap opera. Just like the way that the music is playing and everything. And there's so much homage that you can tell other horror directors later on pay to House because of specific scenes. Even Sam Raimi, when I talk about Evil Dead, I feel like there's elements of this that you could pull in that movie as well, and that there's so many directors that had to have been influenced by this very important piece of horror filmmaking. And so this is just my glowing recommendation that if you have not seen House, stop what you're doing and watch House, because I feel like even people that love this movie, it's really hard to 100% tell you every amazing element of this film, and it's definitely worth your time. So have you seen House? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think. I love this movie. It's one of my favorites I own from the collection, and it's one I think everyone should watch. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new videos, and I'm excited to get more out there for you in the future. As always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.